markets or financial markets in general does not move like what we want or we anticipate. So that's why we need to do our due diligence. Look at the past and present to understand what can be the possible future. That is what we are looking. You see a lot of random small cap coins starting to move higher, and they are literally going much higher. In last just 1 week, some of these have even done 200%, which is actually a good news, because then you go on to the large cap coins arena and then you're like, okay, we don't actually see a lot of them doing good numbers. Yes, you have actually seen Quant moving, Maker moving in the first hundreds. That's a positive news. But what really is happening when you actually see a lot of small caps actually bursting, retesting, then going back up? Money is moving into that direction. So what we are going to look here is what happened in the past and what literally is happening here, in my opinion. We will actually break these down because the money flow here is important in my thinking process, because as I look at this is going to be a lot of opportunities in this market, and you may not really want to miss this opportunity because that is coming slow. You don't want to do that, do you? This is the scientific investor family, where the normal common retail guys learn how to become the next top 10% of the world. This is going to be an addition. Say, for example, in the history, we actually seen money coming into Bitcoin, then moving into Ether, then large caps, then small micro caps bursting. But right now, what you're observing in the market is small caps, a lot of them pumping. One or two few large cap and medium cap bouncing. What happens here is that primary question. This scenario allows a lot of people to put $100, $1,000, whatever amount, and make it 10, 50, 100x in these literal rotations. Great. And where will this money go in? In my opinion, I think once you make the money, now you're like, okay, let me take a little bit lower risk. Human nature. Then they move on more to medium caps, less small caps, or towards the large cap coins. And that's how the rotation moves to the top as they multiply the money or the newly found wealth which they have. So if that is happening right now, make sure you consider what's happening so that you don't miss out and you understand the macro narrative. Yes, history does show you something, but we also try to learn what's happening now. And if it resonates with the history, you take that lesson and move forward. Great. As we look through the market, we do see Bitcoin slowly grinding up, Ether slowly grinding up at a time when some of these are trying to gather more pace. Some of them are starting to look like they are trending higher, especially when you go on to the medium caps, small caps. You do see some momentum happening with a lot of volume moving into that direction. So we really want to know, like, okay, what is happening in those cases? Because right now, if you remember, we talked about this dollar consolidating here and going back down. It right now is slowing down and going back down. So we want to see whether it's going to bounce from this level of support, which can be 111, close to that in the index, or it can drop to 110. Because if it do, that gives you more momentum in the crypto side, where this is going to run even higher. So now when you look at the stock market, you would actually say like, okay, dollar is slowing down. Stocks, even though we all say like, okay, there's going to be a great depression, financial depression, and you're going to see stocks going another 50% down, keep that there and then ask the question like, okay, what do you look at the market? The market was literally trending to the downside here. The RSI suggests it made a double bottom, or at least at the same level. Then it started trending higher. That's one bullish divergence. Second is that you kind of reach that level of resistance where if you even push a little bit, meaning if the dollar falls and the stocks react to that in a positive manner, either you can create a fake out or mostly you may push and break through that. Because if that actually happens, and what can be the catalyst? Who knows? Maybe a central bank comes out and says, okay, we are pausing this cycle. We think we are not going to reduce it now, but we may pause it for some time. That may be one of the reasons. Who knows what's going to come out? But as you look at the oil market, say for example, it actually dropped. We came back and we talked about this way before, maybe a week, two back, when we were kind of trying to push back up. We gave this thought process of like, okay, mostly you may get rejected here. And right now we are getting rejected, but the moving average is still holding the price. So we need to see this break to the downside after a little bit of bounce here and there. That's okay. But we need to see this go back into the trading range, because right now we are holding at that support on the RSI. You need to see the MACD crossing to the downside, RSI breaking to the downside. That's when you see a little bit more room for you to fill at the gas stations. That's good. Now, when you come back here to the XRP USD, it is really good, at least looking at this side, where it is like we are holding on to that support level, which is feeling a little bit good. Because right now, if you bounce, it's good. You can go up to and test 0.54. But keep this in mind, that's a short-term scenario. What we are looking on a daily chart is that the RSI is slowly trending and inside a corrective action. So unless you actually break this level, you may not actually see a lot of friction coming in, because right now when you talk about things, you may have a doubt like, okay, do we really have the room to break through this? No one knows. What we are observing is on a short-term scenario, maybe a 4-hour chart, 3-hour chart. If you zoom out, you can actually see a possibility of a rounded bottom. But usually what happens, you get a fake out. Now we want to actually, if to be positive, you can say this was that fake out. We may not do another fake out and we'll bounce. But to confirm that, you need to see a breakout of this level where we are at this moment. So if we can push a little bit higher in terms of price and XRP, then we are looking for some momentum to test the 0.54 range, which at this time, when a lot of coins are moving positively, is going to invite more people here. If we move back higher, okay, as we talk, you're literally observing this. MDX is running back up. If you remember, we had that position which we closed that at the 100% mark of profit, and then we are waiting for the next target. So these are actually literally opportunities in the market, which now there will be 10-20 opportunities. You may not be able to seize all of them, and all of them will have different timings. So make sure you know your risk tolerance and where you are entering. And if you want that kind of calls, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. Now, as we come back into the market, this really shows us that, okay, there is a possibility we may bounce, but we have not yet bounced. We need to wait and get a confirmation. Now, as we step back onto the weekly side, we'll just clear all these drawings and then look at it on a zoomed out view to say, okay, we are still here. We have not broken to the downside or to the upside. Either a break of 0.54 or a break of 0.44. This is what is going to be concerning. Inside this range, that's okay, that's perfect, that's normal. Because as you look through, you can actually give a focus here on the MACD and ask this question like, okay, we are literally trending higher on a weekly. This is actually a positive note because you actually see the MACD here, which is a great signal in my opinion. Because when I go look at a Heikin-Ashi candle here on weekly, right now, we are starting to be red, but we've been following all this green. So usually what happens in Heikin-Ashi is that we stay there and look for the closed candle and say the next candle is going to be the same, green. Right now, what we are observing is the RSI is slowing down. That usually is not the greatest signal which you can get. You need both of them trending higher. So now you come on to the short-term signal to see what's happening. On a daily, you broke below the 20 moving average. Yes, today it's a little bit green, but it does not actually show you that the RSI is trending higher. So unless that move happens, to be frank, I don't think we would be breaking 2.54. But if you actually get a breakout here, which we talked first, that is going to be bullish. You will literally see XRP doing at least this short-term measured move of 10-20%, and that's not bad. For a coin like XRP, the large cap, doing another 20% would actually push us towards 0.54. That is going to be bullish, super bullish. Why? Because as you zoom out and look where that point lies, that's here, about this range of resistance. So you are literally moving through, and at that time, there will be a lot of sellers who will get hit. There will be stop loss hunting. Believe me, those are like the moment when the price kind of just shoots higher. And that's what you as a buyer want to see. Because when you go into the market, say for example, Laya. For Laya, I completely, respect her, and most of her thought process, I completely agree with that. But say at least recently she been talking about XRP, and I was like, okay, she's a respectable individual, and I'm like, maybe just this one thing she's getting it wrong. Maybe even at the point which she is actually putting out is correct, which I also think, and I also share in the one-on-one meetings, right? But the question is, can you stop that? If the governments, the bureaucrats, and everyone is going to say, okay, this is our money, and that's private money, maybe Bitcoin, maybe XRP, whatever, and we don't care whether you use this or that, people will go for the decentralized version, but they don't say that. And that's where, I've heard maybe Jim Rogers saying this about Ben Bernanke or Bernie Sanders. Someone actually told us they will roll the tanks out before they give up the control of money. So if you think the world is not going to change in next 2-3 years, because it's been doing like this for hundreds of years, then most likely you may have to think what they're going to do and what they're going to use. And that's where primarily Quant is running higher. If you look at the price of Quant, our targets, we've been taking profits, we've been writing that. Why is that? XRP has a lot of burden with the SEC case, even though it's getting a lot of adoption outside US. US is one of the biggest market which the world looks at, and the SEC stopping them there kind of increases a lot of friction. Whereas you see Quant on the other side in the same place of payments getting adoption, and that is now getting priced in. We've been talking about this from some time. Value is what you get for the money you pay. So at this range, it was really a bargain. Even at the breakout here, it's great trade. It's not long-term investments. It will be trading. So if you are there to trade for like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and you see an opportunity, you verify that with history. And the data suggests you, if that's a data which you are looking at, if you've seen the last video, we detailed about that, what's going to be the opportunity. But keep this in mind, if you see an inverse head and shoulder, which breaks to the upside, that's an opportunity. You just have to look for the measured move and plot it and say, okay, that's going to be my target. I'm going to be conservative. I'll target for 80% of that, not for the 100%, but I'll still be happy because I've made an 80% on that particular trade. But is this the only trade opportunity right there in the market? No, you see a lot of them getting volume, a lot of them breaking higher. So you look for a breakout, and when they break out, more people come in. Automatically, the algorithmic trading, the bots, they enter there, the volatility increases, 4 more kind of people move there. So if you anticipate this and enter there, just the problem is you may have to wait maybe 1 week, maybe 1 year, who knows. But if you are looking at a shorter time scenario chart, then you're waiting for like 1 week or 2 max, and then you're breaking higher. Whereas if you're a long-term guy, you're looking this chart on a weekly or monthly, and you're spotting an opportunity, remember, that's a weekly or monthly. When we broke this level to the upside, we told that's going to be a huge opportunity. But what happened? That was back in July. So it literally took August, September, October, 3 months of waiting before it actually started bouncing. But if you are on a weekly and you're looking at Quant, this is one idea which I would like to actually give you guys. The weekly chart, the moving average, 20-period moving average, is rounding back to the upside. You go back in history and look when it was doing similar thing before. Keep that in mind for a lot of different assets which are starting to do the same thing. Only difference is, if you've been buying this at this point, 40, 45, 50 range, now you already made a 5x. So those people who entered there, they're taking some of the profits out. We at least are doing that. And then we enter trades. So same, people will look for opportunities and they will enter. Now you go on to the XRP chart. You want to actually see on a weekly, what the hell is XRP doing right now? Similar situation, just a little bit early. You reached here, the 20 period moving average on a weekly slowly trying to move back up. Now remember, the price is staying above the moving average, so it is pushing it back to the upside. MACD has crossed to the upside, it's moving to the upside. RSI broke higher on a weekly. All of these is kind of, for me, it's super bullish. Now people say I'm bullish all the time. Maybe because if you look at the fundamentals and the breakout here, at least at this point in time, you cannot be bearish. Now, short-term volatility will be there, and those are kind of opportunities for volatility traders. So if you are one, you're going to get those opportunities. Now, that's kind of the general outlook of the market. Now, before we drop, I would like to actually talk about the XRP dominance right now. We broke higher, and remember this is a key point. You broke higher September 19th, and it's almost a month, and you're still holding on to that level, which for me is super important. Why? That's a macro level scenario happening, and the trade is on. RSI, MACD, your indicators are suggesting you're going parabolic. Here, if you remember what I just talked about for Quant, that's literally happening here for the dominance. XRP dominance just reversed and is going up. So it is showing you the possibility of it trending higher. Yes, we did the same here, but we did not break higher from the trend line. Here we did that. That is the primary stuff you need to focus if you are an XRP holder. You just draw a line here back. Now, some say this is history, you don't have to look at that. I'm like, then what else are you going to look to project the future? Now, at least I don't have a crystal ball. What we do is look at the past and see how people reacted to this particular asset at different price levels and say, okay, there is a 60-70% probability they may do the same. So now when you're here, you see these rounding, but you did not break the resistance, it get rejected. It happens again. But when you break the resistance and the moving average shows you the upside, don't doubt. Don't doubt. Time is now. At least in my opinion, that's what I strongly believe. So guys, if you received value, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.